What if everything you were taught about early Filipinos being uncivilized was wrong? What if, centuries before 1521, Filipinos already had written documents, legal systems, and structured governments? Long before the arrival of Ferdinand Magellan in 1521, long before Spanish colonization, there was already law, there was already literacy, there was already civilization. Tonight, we uncover the truth. The myth that Filipinos had no laws. For centuries, colonial narratives painted early Filipinos as tribal and primitive, suggesting that law and order only came with Spain. But Spanish records themselves contradict this claim. In 1609, colonial official Antonio de Morga wrote in his book Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas that the natives had their own laws and customs which they preserved carefully. This is a crucial admission. It tells us something powerful. Pre-colonial society was organized. Each barangay was led by a Datu. Justice was not random, it was structured. Disputes were settled through councils. Punishments ranged from fines to servitude. These were not lawless islands. These were communities with order. The Laguna Copperplate Inscription. Then came the discovery that changed everything. In 1989, near Laguna, workers found a thin copper plate covered in ancient script. It would later be identified as the Laguna Copperplate Inscription, dating back to the year 900 AD. Let that sink in. 900 AD, more than 600 years before Magellan arrived. The inscription was written in Kawi script and contains a formal legal document, a debt pardon issued by authority. It mentions named individuals, government officials, specific locations, a precise date, legal terminology. This was not a simple note. This was bureaucracy. This was literacy. This was law. And it proved that early Filipinos were connected to wider Southeast Asian trade networks, using Old Malay and Sanskrit influences in their writing. The Philippines was not isolated. It was part of a sophisticated regional civilization. How laws worked in pre-colonial society. Before colonization, communities were organized into barangays, independent political units. The Datu served as chief executive, military leader, judge. Laws were either written, as evidence suggests, or preserved orally by elders. Justice was community-based. If someone committed theft, they could be fined in gold or goods. If a crime was severe, trial by ordeal might occur, a method common across many ancient civilizations. Contracts, trade agreements, and marriage alliances were respected and enforced. Social classes existed. Majinu, nobility. Timawa, freemen. Alipin, dependents. Each had rights and responsibilities under customary law. This was structured society, not chaos. The Kalantiaw controversy. For many years, Filipinos believed in the legendary code of Kalantiaw, supposedly a 15th century legal code from Panay. It described harsh punishments and detailed laws. But historians later proved it was a 20th century forgery created by Jose y Marco. While disappointing, this discovery teaches us something important. We do not need myths to prove Filipino civilization. The real evidence, like the Laguna Copperplate, is stronger, authentic, documented, undeniable. What this means for Filipino identity. The existence of written legal documents in 900 AD changes the narrative. It means pre-colonial Filipinos were literate. They had functioning governments. They engaged in international diplomacy. They practiced structured justice. The idea that civilization began in 1521 is historically inaccurate. The Philippines already had civilization. Spain did not create it. It transformed it. History was not blank before colonization. It was erased, overshadowed, undertold, but the copper plate still exists. Silent, metal, unchanged for over 1,000 years. And it tells us something powerful. We were never without law. We were never without order. We were never without civilization. We simply forgot. Don't let our history fade away. Subscribe and be part of keeping our stories alive.